Good morning all of you. I welcome all of you for this video lecture session on evolutionary computation for data mining part 2. At the outset, I thank the management for the wonderful opportunity given to me to present this video lecture. So in today's session, I am just going to talk about why data mining and why we have to go for evolutionary techniques for data mining solution. And we are just going to have a glimpse on what is data mining functionalities, classification basics, because that is a task which you are going to solve using one of the evolutionary techniques. And then we will see why evolutionary computation for data mining. Then we will have to see how to use genetic algorithms for classification task. So necessity is the mother of invention. Today we are living in an era where we are in total digital world. Everywhere we go, whatever we do, whatever we speak, whatever we text, whatever we hear, so everything is going to be converted into some kind of data. To add more on the fuel, broad bandwidths, and then mobile devices, sensors, so plenty of data. So these data in fact making us very difficult to analyze this volume of data with ordinary human mind. So we will have to go for kind of techniques which are going to be very useful to analyze the data. It's called automated data analysis. Now, because this large volume of data, human mind can never comprehend this much volume of data both vertically and horizontally. Okay, so the solution is data mining. And if you see the evolution of the database technology in 1960s, people were concerned more on collection of data in the form of databases. 70s for relational data model, some data models are created, and 80s RDBMS, advanced data models, and 90s data mining, data warehousing, multimedia databases, and so on. So we'll have to precisely understand what data mining is all about before just going to find how we can find solutions for many of the data mining problems. So it is defined as the extraction of interesting, so for example non-trivial and implicit, previously unknown and potentially useful information from the large repositories of the data. So this is what data mining definition. If you just see this non-trivial means non-simple. The pattern which we are going to find out should not be simple one. It should not be explicit. It should be an implicit one. It should be previously unknown, and ultimately it is useful for the business deployment. So this is the idea. Of course, there are many different names for this data mining nowadays, like knowledge discovery in databases, knowledge extraction, data pattern analysis, archaeology, data dredging, and business intelligence of late. Then information harvesting. Many names nowadays people are talking about data mining. Okay. So there are many applications reported in the literature of late, because everywhere data and everywhere there need to be a solution, and we have to make use of the existing data in the repositories and how it could be used for business development further, because data is a most invaluable asset. So now every company is just now focusing on how to get best out of their data which is residing in the large databases. Okay, so this leads to risk analysis management, market analysis management, and fraud detection and management, and many other applications like text mining, news group, email documents, web analysis, intelligent query answering, and so on. And also market basket analysis, and then target marketing, determine customer purchasing pattern over time, and cross market analysis, finding out the relationship between the product sales, finding out the relationship between the customer likes, okay, prediction based on the association information. And similarly, customer profiling, identifying customer requirements, provide summary information, financial planning and asset evaluation, resource planning, competitions, sports and astronomy, internet, web surfing, and even it is finding now extensive usage in medical field, like early detection of cancer, risk group detection, hospital management system, new drug discovery, reducing the patient waiting time or length of stay in the hospital, and suitable combination of drugs for treatment, and cancer analysis or early detection of cancer, and many things are there. So these are the typical KDD process. At the end of this KDD process, what we are going to harvest is a knowledge. This knowledge is very important for us, and from this knowledge we can just try to get some benefit out of the data, and this knowledge could be deployed in the business for further benefits or for the profit. So name data cleaning, and then data selection, then data mining, and then we get pattern, and the patterns are evaluated and we get knowledge. Then that will be converted into wisdom, and which in turn will be converted into intelligence. That is called business intelligence nowadays. So there are many functionalities like a concept description, characterization, association rule mining, classification and prediction, cluster analysis, outlier analysis, trend evaluation, other pattern directed statistical analysis. These are some of the functionalities. Now I am just going to present a couple of more slides about the data mining, then thereafter I am going to switch over to evolutionary computation, because these are some of the basic ideas which are necessary for which task we are going to apply the evolutionary computation. So as such, data mining is not a single subject as many people thought. It is a confluence of many subjects like statistics, visualization, other disciplines, information sciences, machine learning, database technology. So put together we are making data mining area. So the classification is a very important functionality and very well studied functionality in the data mining, and it consists of two-step process. One is model construction and the second one is model usage. Model construction is nothing but we have a database and data, so we just divide that into two. Okay, maybe 75% is made as training data and 25% is made as testing data. With this 75% of data, we are going to construct a model. Okay, and this model is going to be evaluated with the testing data. So once the model is evaluated successfully and it is find useful or valid pattern, then the pattern could be used for further prediction. So this is what classification is all about. So by this simple example you can easily understand what classification is. So here we get a database, data like name, rank of the professors, years and tenured. Okay, so this is called training data. Okay, for these, making use of this training data, we are going to apply the classification algorithm and we will build a model. Okay, so what this model says, if rank equal to professor or years greater than 6, then tenured equal to yes. This is the model we get out of this training data. Now this is called a first step of model construction. So what is next step? Using this model we have to test the future cases. That is called usage of model. So suppose you get name equal to Marilisha, rank equal to associate professor, year 7, tenured equal to what? So this is called training data. So with that data we are just testing, and then after testing a classifier is made. Okay. So after this classifier is made, we are going to apply this classifier on the unseen data. So for example, Jeff, professor, 4 years experience. Now we will have to find out whether he is tenured or no. So we will have to match these with the model which we have used earlier. What is the model we have got? Okay, if rank equal to professor or years greater than 6, then tenured equal to yes. So what is the unseen data says? Jeff, rank is professor. Okay, or years greater than 6, then tenured equal to yes. So here his rank is professor and years 4. So if rank is a professor, he is tenured equal to yes. So this is how we are going to use the model. A simple example of classification. So there are major classification models like decision tree induction, Bayesian classification, neural networks, support vector machines, and classification based on associations, and other classification methods like KNN and boosting methods, bagging method. Now we are going to add another method with this, that is we are going to use evolutionary computation for this classification problem. So particularly we are going to use one of the major important techniques called genetic algorithm we are going to use for this classification purpose, or you can say with which we are going to generate classification models. Okay, so this is the idea. Of course, there are many evaluation criteria there to understand the performance of the classification models. So for example, predictive accuracy, speed and scalability, like time to construct the model, time to use the model, then robustness, how to handle or handling the noise and missing values, scalability, efficiency in disk resident databases, interpretability, understanding and insight provided by the model, goodness of the rules, decision tree size, compactness of the classification rules. So these criteria are going to be used. The model which we have constructed is very useful and or not. So with these criteria one can easily measure the model thus found out is useful or not. Okay, this is what example. I would like to now skip all these things because I already given you an example of classification. Okay, now let me move on to the definition of classification. So given collection of records, that is called training set. Each record contains a set of attributes. Okay, one of the attributes is the class. Find a model for class attribute as a function of the values of other attributes. So what is the goal? Previously unseen records should be assigned to a class as accurately as possible. So this is what exactly you can really understand about classification. So we had seen, actually in my talk there are two parts. One is data analysis. That means we are going to use classification methods to do some kind of data analysis. The later part is the evolutionary computation. So constructing a classification model is not a very easy problem. In mathematics or in computational theory or theory of computation says there are two kinds of problems. One is easy problem, another one is hard problems. What is easy problem? If any problem can be solved within the polynomial time or within a very short span of time comfortably, that is called a easy problem. If some problems, for some problems we will not be able to solve that very easily within the polynomial time. It will take long time. Even after long time there is no guarantee that we will arrive at a solution. For some problems there is a solution but which we cannot arrive at. But there for some problems there is a solution we can find, but we cannot verify, or sometimes we can verify. Okay, for some problems it will take long time to generate the result. So like this, there are different types of these problems are called hard problems. Okay, that is called NP hard problems or NP complete problems. So actually lot of heuristics methods have been devised to find approximate results, or how to say suboptimal solutions within very reasonable time. So many meta-heuristic algorithms are proposed based on this category. So these algorithms are just trying to find, for the hard problems they will try to find some suboptimal solution, not exactly optimal solution, they will find only suboptimal solutions within the reasonable amount of time. So that is the idea. Okay, so NP problem means class of problems whose solution can be verified in polynomial time, framed as decision problems. And okay, right now the biggest open problem in computer science is P equal to NP or not. So that is the biggest idea now. Everywhere scientists are now working. Okay, heuristics, approximation algorithms typically used to solve these kind of decision problems in many areas of engineering applications. One most notorious hard graph problem is traveling salesman problem. Of course, there are 15 cities or 20 cities or 50 cities. The traveling salesman has to optimize his route in such a way he has to go to all cities without again crossing the city or within minimum time span. Okay, that is called traveling salesman problem. It is one of the very important, most studied problem in theoretical computer science. So this is one best example for hard problem. And similarly we can say optimization of tool path for manufacturing equipment. It is one of the very important engineering problem. Example, robot arm assigned to solder all connections on printed circuit board. So very big circuit boards, a robo will be deployed to do the soldering connections. So how to optimize the this robo arm in such a way the soldering is done in an optimal way. Okay, so these are some examples of hard problems. So for all these things, one of the best methods are search algorithms. Search algorithms or much studied algorithms now to find solutions on all these aspects. What is search? Okay, search is to find, it's a procedure adopted to find the solution for that particular problem. So we have to search the search space for the optimal solution. In search space there are potential solutions and there are some other solutions, or there may not be solutions, so we will have to traverse. Okay, that is called a search space. It is very difficult for computers as for humans. So for example, if I am firing a question now to the audience, to you, okay, I am asking you a question, which one is brilliant, whether computer is brilliant or human mind is brilliant. Okay, this is the problem now. I have to find solution. I have to find solution from you. So I ask the first candidate sitting in front of me, okay, just rise, what's your answer? He says some answer. Can I take that is the best answer? No, I will have to explore all others in this hall. Okay, after hearing all others, I can find one or two best solutions. So till then, I have to give a chance to everyone to contribute to the answer. So this classroom is called search space. So to find solution to my question, I will have to completely explore this search space. I mean, I have to ask the answer from everyone, then I have to select the best one. So these problems are called search problem. Suppose if we do not search, what would happen? Suppose the first person is just raising and telling me the answer. Now can I take that's the best answer? No, I can't take. Now I will get substandard solution for my problem. So I will have to effectively explore the search space to get the optimal solution or suboptimal solutions. And this is in fact the search methods classification. You see, the entire search methods could be classified into calculation based techniques and then guided random search techniques and then enumerative techniques, three broad categories, okay, which in turn calculation based techniques are classified into two types. One is called direct methods, another one is called indirect methods. If we come to enumerative techniques, that has another method in them that is called dynamic programming. It is one of the interesting area, dynamic programming, not static programming, okay. If you come the guided random search techniques, which is further classified into two, one is called simulated annealing and another one is called evolutionary algorithms. This is what we are going to now focus on to solve our data mining problem, okay. When evolutionary algorithms, it is not an algorithm, there are many algorithms are there in the evolutionary category. One is called evolutionary strategies, okay, and then genetic algorithms, then genetic programming and then evolutionary programming. All of these four techniques we are going to use these genetic algorithms to solve our classification data mining problem. That's the idea, okay. Okay, what is this genetic algorithm is all about, or these evolutionary algorithms are all about is, we have to understand one thing, that we have to create some algorithms. These algorithms are powerful enough to explore the search space to find the solutions. So we are writing some computer programs. Through these programs, the computers are finding the solutions to many problems nowadays. I told you some problems are very hard, whereas computers cannot find solutions within reasonable time, okay. So though there are data mining algorithms which can solve the problem satisfactorily, but still they have certain limitation when it comes to finding solutions to hard problem, okay. So for those situations, of course we have to go for these kind of evolutionary techniques or intelligent algorithms. I have to ask you one thing, what is the difference between human mind and computer, okay. What is human mind? Which one is powerful? Human mind or computer? Now the answer is very difficult, no, because human mind is outperforming the computers in taking intelligent decisions. How it is, humidity is more today, it is going to be rainy, I have to keep an umbrella with me. And the man who just walks in front of me is going to ask hand loan, so I have to say, no, I don't have any money. So human brain is intelligent, okay. Human brain will be outsmarting the computer and taking the intelligent decision, whereas computers are outsmarting the human brain in doing huge calculation within no time. So for example, if I give you 100 digit number and I will ask you to divide by another 50 digit number, then probably it will take days together for us or years together for us to solve the problem. But you know, even after years, there is no guarantee that we will be able to solve it. But when you give those things to computer, within the fraction of second, it will do the calculation and answer will be returned. So computers are outsmarting the human brain, okay, in doing huge calculation. Now the idea is, along with the huge computational capacity of the computer, suppose if we inject an element of intelligence into the computer, then the computer will become expert. These expert will be more than 1000 or 10,000 human experts, okay, that is the idea. So that is called computational intelligence techniques, or it's a one kind of artificial intelligence techniques. So we are just going to make the machines to become intelligent. How to do that? How we are going to inject an element of intelligence into the computer? So that is a very, very important problem and major challenge for the computer science scientists now. Okay. So how human are becoming intelligent? We have 5 sensory organs. I am just seeing it through my eyes. I am just hearing, I am touching, I am smelling, I am tasting. So through these 5 sensory organs, I continuously get input, and these inputs are carried to brain through neurons and get stored somewhere in the brain. Okay. And over the period, these database becomes knowledge base because they keep on growing with training. Suppose if I touch a current, it will give an electric shock to me. Okay. So these incidents get stored somewhere in the brain. So next time if I had seen an electric plug, when I want to touch that, immediately my brain alert me, because already it has stored an experience inside the brain that it's going to shock you. I'll just pull my fingers back. So this is how human brain are just learning. So the idea is to give learning to the computers. So these algorithms are basically going to provide learning to the computers and thus trying to make the computer. So when I want to make the computer to learn, so I have to look for the nature, because nature is the very, very powerful and intelligent. So we get all the knowledge from the nature. All the knowledge from the nature and life. Lot of things are highly intelligent. If you want me to say an example, this is a human brain. Okay. The first one is human brain. Human brain is, highly intelligent one. It has found the computers. It has found all the machines. So it is definitely much superior than all other machines in the world. Okay. Brain. Okay. Number 2 is immune system. This immune system is trying to automatically learn and improve its immunity power. See how powerful it is. It becomes adaptive and it automatically trying to improve the immunity power. That's called immune system. And the third is eyes. Eyes are probably the most powerful device in the world which can recognize object than any other computer or any other machine, which recognize in a much better way than any other machine or sensor or whatever it is still in the world. And you see, evolution is very, very intelligent process. We had seen that. See, first our forefathers we came from monkeys. Okay. Then slowly we get evolved. Then we were living in the Stone Age. We are living in the many ages. We are living in the forest. Okay. And then slowly we get culture. Slowly we get civilization. Now that is what we are right now is. So this is called evolution. So the whole process of evolution itself is highly intelligent one. We have to understand this concept. And the third one is ant colony. See, the ants are though not much smart on when it is single, but with a colony, when they are moving with a group, they exhibit a kind of intelligence that is fantastic. So we are trying to model some algorithms based on the ants intelligence, that is called ant colony optimization. Probably if you want me to give an example, see, if there are 2 paths, okay, the ants are here now, okay, ants are here, and this is the nest and this is the food. Okay, so ants normally explore the straight path to get food from the nest to food. Suppose if I introduce an obstacle here, okay, what would happen? The ants which are moving here will start to explore the other possible ways to reach the food, and some ants will move in this direction and some ants will move in this direction. But after some times, what will happen? These ants are communicating and with themselves through a chemical substance called pheromone. Okay, whatever something is happening, and quickly all ants are settled down in this path only, no ant will move in this path. After some time, quickly they will just come to the conclusion that this is the shortest path, and so all of them have to take this path. So this is what exactly now GPS, navigation GPS. Suppose if you just switch on your GPS in your mobile, that will always shows the shortcut. Suppose from Dindigul to Madurai, and what is the shortest path, it will give your GPS. So that is nothing but just modeling this ant behavior. Okay, based on this ant behavior only, GPS navigation system is designed. So like this I can tell you numerous examples that nature is intelligent. So we are just going to learn from this, and we are just going to develop algorithms to solve our computer problem or engineering problem. Well, this is the idea. Probably when we talk about genetic algorithms, you should understand these two gentlemen, because they are the main contributors of these algorithms. Probably you know Charles Darwin. It's a very important person who contributes to this algorithm by saying survival of the fittest. That is Darwin's evolution theory says survival of the fittest. Okay, that is the idea which is going to be used in the genetic algorithm. Then who is John H. Holland? He has written a book on genetic algorithms during the year 1975. He proposed this genetic algorithm. When he proposed and he has written a book on genetic algorithm, almost many Americans have bought book on this title. They get excited about understanding this new algorithm, and many universities have brought a syllabus or created a course on genetic algorithm, and it became very popular since Holland proposed the idea of genetic algorithm. So important contributors of genetic algorithm. Here, what is the programmer's perspective of this biological event? It is not that only biological events or biological scientists are understanding that the nature is highly powerful and intelligent, and computer programmers also or computer scientists also trying to know about these biological phenomena to develop very efficient algorithms. And I think it is ought to understand what Bill Gates saying during an interview to the Week in June 27, 1994. The gene is by far the most sophisticated program around. How still human being become or still relevant and still surviving? Because of their genes. The genes are, highly sophisticated program around. That's what rightly pointed out by Bill Gates. Okay. So this is the idea. We are going to use the nature's intelligence or natural phenomena, or we are going to mimic the biological beings to develop algorithms. So let's have a look at what meta-heuristic algorithm says, because many heuristic algorithms or search algorithms coming under the category of meta-heuristic. So a top level general strategy which guides other heuristics to search for feasible solution in domains where the task is very hard problems. Okay, this is the idea, right? So generally these are suitable for NP hard problems or NP complete problems where the solution is very difficult within the reasonable time. Okay, and examples of meta-heuristic algorithms are Tabu search, simulated annealing, genetic algorithms and memetic algorithms. So the important idea is responsive exploration, integrating the basic principles of intelligent search, exploiting good solution features while exploring new promising regions. So this is the idea, exploring the whole search space while promising search in the regions where the promising solutions are available. So that is the beauty of these meta-heuristic algorithms. The memory structures in Tabu search operate by reference to 4 principal dimensions. They are recency, frequency, quality and influence. So it was introduced, the concept of evolutionary computation was introduced in the 1960s by I. Reichenberg. Okay. Then John Holland wrote the first book on genetic algorithm in 75. In 1992, John Koza used genetic algorithms to evolve programs to perform certain tasks. He called his methods as genetic programming. Many complicated engineering problems now started attracting the attention of genetic algorithms since these gentlemen made their seminal paper, and many people around the world, particularly computer scientists, started applying these algorithms to many engineering optimization problems, and so they made a breakthrough, and so these algorithms have become very popular. So Darwin's theory of evolution, problems are solved by an evolutionary process resulting in a best fittest solution. Okay. In other words, the solution is evolved. For any problem, the solution will be evolved. So I told you that evolution process itself is a highly intelligent process. So solution evolved means, so the solution is obtained in a intelligent way. That is called the solution is evolved. How we are going to evolve the solution? By 4 biological phenomena called inheritance. That means offspring acquire characteristics. Son is getting the father's character 50%, mother's character 50% through the genes. Okay. So that is called inheritance. So the wisdom and intelligence get transmitted to the siblings through the genes. Okay. So that is called inheritance. Okay. Mutation, change. No species in the world are trying to be similar. They want to be entirely different. So they have the tendency of having the mutation to avoid similarity. Do you see that any 2 persons are looking same? Very rare, in fact. At least they must be different in texture or color or speech or any one aspect they must have done. But people are saying that there are several similar people, 7 or 8 similar peoples in the world, but as such no proven records are coming. They must always, human species trying to be different because of this character called mutation. Okay. Natural selection, that is one of the fundamentally very important point is natural selection. So that is, natural selection is what all biological entities are having, all biological beings are having. Only because of this natural selection we are intelligent now, we are still surviving. Okay. Whereas machines or any solid thing cannot select, cannot have this natural selection. That's right. Then recombination or crossover, that's nothing but interchanging of genes between the parents, that's called crossover. So by this 4 way, okay, the solution gets evolved. That's what the Darwin's theory says. How solutions are evolved? Because of these 4 biological phenomena. So what we are going to do, we are going to inherit all these ideas and we are going to develop algorithms. Okay, like how we get the information through our sensory organs. In the same way, artificial neural network works. They have dendrites, they have sensory organs, they have all these information neurons. Okay, so the same kind of how human beings are learning, that is being modeled, and an algorithm is developed, that is called artificial neural network. So what we have is a neural network. So we have generated artificial neural network. What for? To make the machine to become intelligent. Once the machine become intelligent, of course, then you see they are much better than the human experts in solving many engineering problems. So for example, if you just make a move in chess, there are 25 to 30 ways you can make a counter move. But if we have a human brain that have a limitation, we will see 1 or 2 or 3 positions or board positions. Whereas computers, because of the tremendous calculation making capacity, they will explore all the 30 positions simultaneously. So if an intelligence is given to that, no one can beat the computer by playing chess. You know, that's the idea, right? So the NP complete problems. So let us see what now genetic algorithm says. So can I would like to tell you one point that for all the diseases in the world, is there any one single medicine which can cure all the diseases? No, not at all possible. In the same way around, for all the engineering problems or the problems which can be solved by a computer, is there a single program which can solve all the problems? No, not possible. So what is the idea? We have to create a generic algorithm. A generic algorithm we have to create, and through this generic algorithm we have to try to find solutions. So that is what called genetic algorithms. It is one of the generic algorithm. Okay, actually it is domain independent. No need of domain knowledge is required for this genetic algorithms, but still it will yield promising solution or optimal solutions. That is the beauty of this algorithm. Okay, so it is a search type algorithm. It creates an initial feasible solution and iteratively creates new better solutions, okay, based on the human evolution and survival of the fittest. So these two are the important factor. They have initial solution and they will try to do all the natural phenomena, then try to have improved solution, improved, and at the end we will definitely have highly sophisticated optimal solution we will get. Okay, it must represent a solution as an individual. Individual strings are represented like this: I equal to I1, I2, In. So it will be represented as a bit of strings, and in each character I is called a gene. Of course, it will be discussed later how gene would be looking like, what chromosome is looking like. Okay, population is set of individuals. These are the terminology that you need to understand before trying to develop an understanding in genetic algorithm. So it is based on the analogy to biological evolution. Exactly, each rule is represented by a string of bits. An initial population is created consisting of randomly generated rules. It's called randomly generated rules. Based on the notion of survival of the fittest, a new population is formed consisting the fittest rules and their offsprings. So the fitness of a rule is represented by its classification accuracy on a set of training data. Offsprings are generated by crossover and mutation. So this is the important thing that you need to understand about genetic algorithm. Okay, so initial population we will apply these three operators called crossover operator, mutation operator, and fitness. Fitness function is something that every individual solution is evaluated with the fitness function. So for example, if two animals are fighting, which animal would win? So for example, you say a lion and a goat are fighting. What will happen? Lion will easily win. Why? It has the highest fitness. So goat will be finished. So what is the survival? Whichever is fittest will survive. So lion will survive. Goat will not survive. In the same way, suppose if a particular string or a particular solution is having highest fitness value, that is deserved to be retained, those solutions which have lowest fitness value will be eliminated in the process. That's the idea, right? So this is an example for crossover. So this is parents, parent 1, parent 2. Okay. So now this is called crossover site. This is called single crossover. There will be one crossover site. That is why it is called single crossover. So these parents, what will happen after this crossover site? the genetic materials are interchanged or swapped. Okay, this 0 0 0 is still there, but the 1 1 1 is coming up. Okay, this 1 1 1 is here, this 0 0 0 is coming down. So we get children. Whether it is similar to the parents? No, it is different. How? It is all 0 here, 0 0 0 1 1 1. So these are the children, these are the parents. So crossover, just try to take the population to the next generation. Understand? So father and mother, we get children. The children inherits both the characteristics of the father and mother, but they are definitely different from father and mother. That's the idea. From parents, children, through which operation? That's called crossover operator. So we are going to develop some algorithms to do these crossover operations. Okay, this is multiple crossover. That means there will be, these are parent A, parent B. So there will be two crossover sites. Okay, what happened? These in this multiple crossover, the genetic material between the two crossover sites will be interchanged. See here, these two are remain same. Remain same. This will come down, this will go up, this again remains same. So this is what the new children is. It is really different from the parents. Okay, I think you can understand now what is crossover means. Okay, this is what genetic algorithm and pseudocode. So we will start with the initial population, understand, and then we will have what is the output? Output will be improved population than the initial population, and then we will have genetic algorithm code n equal to initial population. P dash equal to 5. Repeat, I1 I equal to select parents. So parents, two parents are selected. Okay, and then crossover is done between the parents and the mutation is done. Okay, for the parent 1 and parent 2, and then we will get the new population. Okay, until new population gets no improvement. So that is called a termination criteria. So this pseudocode of the genetic algorithm. So what is the advantage? It is easily parallelized. Of course there are some disadvantages in genetic algorithms. They are difficult to understand and explain it to the end users. Actually understanding genetic algorithms is very difficult, and teaching genetic algorithms is still difficult, but I am just trying to make myself best to make you to develop an understanding of genetic algorithm. Okay, so abstraction of the problem and method to represent individual is quite difficult, and then fitness function determination is very difficult, and then determining how to perform crossover and mutation is also requires experts intervention. Otherwise everyone cannot just apply this to every problem, it needs experts intervention. That's the idea, right? So what is chromosomes? All living organisms consist of cells, and each cell there is same set of chromosomes. Okay, so chromosomes are strings of DNA and consist of genes of blocks of DNA. Each gene encodes a trait called color of the eye. Suppose your color of the eye is blue, that is responsible for one gene. Where hair color is grey, that's also because of one gene. Okay, your skin color is dark, that is also because of one gene, because these genes are having the information. That's why now gene therapy is going on now. I think complete human genome profiling is going to be over in the year 2019. That means we will get exactly all the information about all the genes in the human body. So if we can able to do profiling is done, then of course we would have done many wonder with this gene therapy. So for example, the cancer is coming due to because a gene mutation, or somebody is having they are alcoholic because of their gene. Okay, or somebody is talkative because of their gene, or somebody is involving unlawful activities, that is also because of gene. So what we can do, we can just identify the gene and we can mute it, automatically the people will get change in their mindset or their disease is reversed. So going to have a, you know, how to say, it's a very big breakthrough is going to happen in this area of some time. And so reproduction, during the reproduction recombination, that means crossover is taking place, and then genes from parents combine to form a whole new chromosome, that is called offsprings, and then offsprings are mutate, and then we will get new generation. And the fitness of an organism is measured by success of the organism in its life, called survival. Okay, principle of natural selection: select the best, discard the rest. So two important elements required for the implementation of this natural selection. One is called methods for representing a solution, that is called encoding technique. There are a lot of encoding, the binary encoding technique, tree encoding technique, and decimal encoding technique, real encoding technique. Lot of encoding techniques are represented in the literature. So one has to find which encoding technique which is suitable for their solution. That is the a skill is required in this part. And method for measuring the quality of any proposed solution via fitness function. Okay, fitness function is very important thing, that is really determining the survival of the solution. So it has to be selected properly, otherwise there is no guarantee that it will lead to optimal solution. So for example, this is called chromosome. Chromosome consists of genes, okay, each gene, okay. Now these are the initial population. So a problem is encoded as a chromosome, set of chromosomes called the initial population. Initial population. Actually, how traditional optimization algorithm works, there will be one point, from there we will apply translational rules, and then new set is applied. So here we will start at a point, okay, and then we will apply translation rules, we will get a solution, maybe improved solution. Then again we will apply another translation rule, we will get second solution. So like this iteration will be taking place, where instead of taking a single point, we will take a solutions. So for example, if you want to explore the shortest path between Dindigul and Madurai, okay, what are the possible ways? That will be given as an initial solution. One is going through Nattam, another is going through this national highway, another is going through Chambati, another is going to some other way, right? All these solutions will be given. Okay, then we will select the fitness function as time or cost or comfort of the travel or anything else. So then we will apply the selection, crossover, insertion, mutation operations. Then automatically you will get the second generation, generation n plus 1, then n plus 3. Like this iteration will be taking place. After 50 iteration or 100 iteration or 5000 iteration, we will get a solution. Which route is optimal, it will return. That is the beauty of this algorithm. Wonderful algorithm. So search space I already told you, and this is the flow chart of how genetic algorithm works. So for example, beginning, and this is initialized population, then evaluate each solution, okay, whether we have reached optimum solution, no, then apply selection operation, crossover operation, mutation operation, and then we will get next generation, and whether we will see that next generation is the optimal solution, then no, again this will be operated, again n plus 2 generation, this is optimum, no, we will go for n plus 3 generation, whether it is optimal, no. So like this, sometimes from 5 iterations to 5000 iteration or 10,000 iteration, it will go. Once there is no improvement in the last 10 iterations, then is optimum or else optimum point reach, then algorithm will stop functioning. This is the idea, right? So you can just understand how this algorithm works through this graph, right? So this is the initial population, right? And then we evaluate each population by the fitness function. Evaluation using fitness function. And then what will happen after that? The solution, reproduction is done, crossover is done, and mutation is done. These are called GA operators or genetic operators. These are the biological operations happening for any biological being. We have inherited those operators for our algorithm, right? Then we will get a new set or n plus 1 population. Then again we will evaluate, and then this will be repeated. So this is how exactly this flicking shows that the life cycle of this algorithm now, how it works really, right? How what is the flow of genetic algorithm. So I am going to present a couple of slides on basic GA operators that you can really understand. Okay. Fitness function, I already told you. What is recombination? So recombination is select the best and discard the rest. That is a recombination operator. The process that chooses solutions to be preserved and allowed to reproduce and selects which one must die out. So that means 10 populations are there. Which populations are allowed to be made crossover or mutation, or which are allowed to be died out. So this is the idea. The crucial operator is this recombination operator. The main goal during the recombination operation, or this operation emphasize the good solutions and eliminate the bad solutions in a population while keeping the population size constant. The size of the population would not change. The population size would be kept constant, and at the same time the not fitted solutions will be ejected out from the population. So there are many methods to implement this recombination operation. One is called Rowlett selection, rank selection, steady state selection, tournament selection. Of course many other methods are also there. Rowlett selection is one of the dangerous game played by Russians many years ago. They will take a revolver and they will put 6 chambers will be there in the revolver. They will put bullet in the first, okay, then they will rotate. The 2 persons will be playing this. First person will take, put his gun over his brain and trigger. Oh, escaped. He is lucky. Okay, again the gun will be rotated. Now another person will take the rifle, okay, revolver, put on his brain, click. So like this until one dies, this game will be played. That is called Rowlett wheel game. So that idea is going to be used for this recombination operator. How? I am going to give you a simple idea of Rowlett wheel selection, how it is going to be done. Okay, how it works. It's simple, very simple. This is a Rowlett wheel. Wheel is rotated like this. Okay, right? The Darwinian survival of the fittest is really implemented in this Rowlett wheel. What this Rowlett wheel importance is, it will always have preference for better guys. Okay, there are many operations. So this is called, see, weakest individual has some smallest share, okay, and fittest individual have the largest share. Okay, now the selection process, if you rotate the process, which one is likely to have which, say for example 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which of these chromosome is likely to survive? You know, this 3 is having largest area, so there is more probability for it being selected. Okay, then it has the next highest area, so this is having a chance to survive. But these areas are very small, so after rotation this may not be selected, so the weak individuals will thus get eliminated. So this is the idea of using Darwinian's Rowlett wheel selection. You can understand mathematically how we can formulate, right? So this is the string 1, first string, okay, its fitness value is 169. The second string fitness value 576, third 64, fourth 361, total fitness value 1170. Out of 1170, how much is 169? That is 14.4%. Okay, and out of 1170, how much 576 is? 49.2. Then out of 1170, how much 64? 5.5. Then 361 is 30.9. So total 100. So out of the 100 cumulative fitness, so this is what the area which each string can hold in the Rowlett wheel. This is how we are converting the Rowlett wheel or creating a Rowlett wheel mathematically. That's very important. When only we can make the operator to work. So if we construct, it will come like this. This is a chromosome 1, then this is chromosome 2. Okay, this chromosome 1, chromosome 2, chromosome 3. Right? So here see, which is a chromosome 1, 49.2. This is a chromosome 1. Next chromosome 2. Next chromosome 3, chromosome 4. So this are shown here. So largest area. So when we rotate a wheel, there will be a needle. Which area is really having more chance to survive? Those string is having highest area. That is called survival of the fittest. If it is not fittest, it won't survive. So that is the idea how we are going to implement this Rowlett wheel. Then crossover, I already told you that how crossover works. See, this is a single point crossover, I am just giving it for demonstration. Okay, this is parent 1, this is parent 2, this is a crossover side. What happened? The genetic material between or after this crossover point will get exchanged. So new siblings or children are formed. Okay, this is a 2-point crossover. So how mathematically we can achieve? This is a chromosome 1, this chromosome 2, and this is offspring 1, this offspring 2. So what is happening? This chromosome 1 and 2, these genetic material between these two gets exchanged, and we get offspring 1 and offspring 2. And similarly, a lot of crossover techniques are mentioned in the literature, like uniform crossover and many crossovers. So we are just leaving out. Then the next idea is mutation. How we can done mathematically? So this mutation, a particular gene is taken randomly and just gets muted or flipped. So it will become different than the parents. So this is called mutation. So now I am going to I have devised all the techniques. Now I am going to give you a hand simulation that how this algorithm works. So for example, you have to understand representation of the solution: age 0, sex 0, height 1, weight 1, BMI, LDL, HDL. So this is the database available now. So the database, we are going to see which patient is going to have cancer. Okay, well, let's see now how this could be hand simulated, right? Okay, this is the database now. We will have this kind of database. Now the idea is we have to check whether the patient is likely to have a cancer or not. Okay, or even to select the best client for the business. Anything is you can formulate. So what is the string 0011011? So that means the selected attributes are height, weight, LDL and HDL. Okay. Okay, other attributes are not selected in this. Like this we can develop a string. Okay, and then testing efficiency. Testing efficiency parameter output divided by input into 100. That means number of correct solutions while testing the test data divided by total number of data tested into 100 in our classification problem. This is our testing efficiency. Then fitness function, we have F equal to testing efficiency. That means for maximization problem, to maximize the testing efficiency, maximum classification accuracy. Then probability of selection, we are going to make use of this formula, Fi divided by sigma I varies from 1 to population size Fi. So this is what the formula which we are going to use for probability selection. So we like this, we randomly generated this, only random generation. Okay, random generated number. That is the beauty of this algorithm. So randomly we have generated 10 strings now. East 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 is the number of bits. Like this 10 initial populations. So these are called initial populations now. Each population, each member in the population is a possible solution. Now which solution out of these 10 is going to be the optimal solution, which we may not be knowing, our algorithm is going to find out. That's how, let's see. So these are the 10 cell. Each one is a potential solution now. Now with a set of selected attributes, construct the rules for a string, test the rules with the available test data. Evaluate testing efficiency as shown above. So let us see, suppose if this is the classification rule, what will be the testing efficiency? We have to calculate as per the formula given. Okay, so we will calculate, we will make use of this formula and you will get these numbers. Okay, testing efficiency. Okay, then the third column is fitness function. What we have mentioned above, fitness function equal to testing efficiency. We will take the testing efficiency as fitness function. Okay, then we will have probability selection. So how to probability selection, how each candidate is likely to get selection or probability selection. So what we will do is, we will have the cumulative fitness function. You know the meaning of cumulative fitness function. We will add all these fitness functions. We will get 1231.10 like that we will get. Okay. So out of that total, how much this is? It is 0.14%. So this is 0.05%. This is 0.12%. So this is probability. Then once we have probability, we will have cumulative probability. In order to achieve the wheel, that roulette wheel, we will have a complete roulette wheel. So that is done here. So fitness function, this is probability selection, this is cumulative probability, 0.14, 0.19, so this and this addition, this will give. Then this and this addition, this you will get. So this and this add, you will get. Like this you will get a cumulative probability of 1. So entire wheel is now constructed. Now we will generate a random number between 0 and 1. So rand, there is a function, if you just stimulate, random number will be generated, any random number. So for example 0.031, 0.01, computer generated random numbers. Okay, now selected strings for crossover not based on the random number, it is done. How? Suppose if it is 0.031, suppose if we take 0.031, it is comes below, it is come before 0.14. 0.031 is coming within the 0.14. So first string gets selected, this string gets selected. Okay, this is 0.018. 0.018 again within this 0.14 in the cumulative probability. So the same string is again selected second time. Okay, this is 0.160. 0.160 means what? Where it is close? We will see 0.160 between these two. So again what? This will be selected. Second string will be selected because it is close to or within this, so second string will be selected. So like this all strings are calculated. Then we will generate another random number 2. Random number 2 is randomly chosen. Suppose if random number 2 is less than or equal to 0.8, do crossover, otherwise do not do crossover. So we will see, it is less than 0.8, yes. Less than 0.8, yes. Less than 0.8, yes. Is it less than 0.8? No, because it is higher than 0.8. So it is less than 0.8, yes. Less than 0.8, yes. So for this we will not do any crossover, these two pairs. For all other pairs we will do crossover. So the unfit strings are getting eliminated in the same way. So we will so how to crossover now decided. How to select the crossover site? Again we will generate random number for this case, 6, 7, 3, 3. So here 6 is the crossover site. So after 6 things will get changed. So here 7th will be the crossover site. After 7th it will get exchanged. So like this all these things are done. So again we will create a random number 4, 0.193, 0.448. So if random number 4 is less than or equal to 0.05, then do mutation, otherwise do not do mutation. Whether it is less than 0.05, no. Less than 0.05, no. Only for this it is less than 0.05. All others it is more than 0.5. So we will do crossover only here between 2 and 5. So second and fifth are getting exchanged or just flipped. Suppose if we take this, the second one is 0. Now the second one has become 1. Similarly fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 1 here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It gets 0 here. Just flipped. So now mutation we have done. So strings after mutation. So this is the set of solution after applying crossover, recombination, crossover and mutation. This is n plus 1th population. Okay. Now we will go here. So this n plus 1 population, this will be placed here. Now again the same procedure will be repeated. Okay. Then we will get n plus 2 population. Then again n plus 2 population will be placed here. The same procedure will be repeated. And finally after 5,000, 10,000 iteration by computer, so computer is going to do everything, all these things. Okay. We have to write program for this. So we will be able to get all the strings are of the same string. That means this is one of the optimal solution. This is how this genetic algorithm works. Wonderful algorithm, and it gives best solutions to many engineering optimization problem. You can name any of the, say for example, job scheduling problem, machine scheduling problem, or missile launching problem, many things. Even for music composing this could be used. So such a very powerful algorithm, but understanding this is a little difficult. You wouldn't know how it could be formulated mathematically, right? So these are the parameters which are being used in our work, okay, to implementation, okay. Advantage we have already seen. So with this I am just going to wind up this video lecture session. I thank you very much. Today we get to know a very and most important and powerful evolutionary algorithm called genetic algorithm. If we can develop an understanding on this algorithm, we can apply this to any hard problems where the solution is very difficult within the reasonable time. We will apply this, we will be definitely able to end up in a optimal solution or suboptimal solution. That is why it is called global optimization algorithm, one of the evolutionary algorithm by the name itself. So thank you very much for the wonderful opportunity given. Thank you.